Normal Sports Talk Worldwide with some news from the world of boxing. So y'all know what time it is. You ain't in a rush to get concussed, baby. Now, let's talk a little bit of Joseph Parker Jr. File. The fight gonna happen on February 27th. This is a big New Zealand dust up, right? Both of these guys are good fighters. One of them still undefeated. Joseph Parker was the former WBO champion, right? When it comes to Joseph Parker, anybody that comes here knows I roll with Joe. I feel that Joseph Parker hasn't really been beaten fair and square, right? I think both his fights, his losses to Anthony Joshua and Dillian White were controversial. Some people would say Joseph Parker lost like a man, took his loss like a man. I would say beg to differ, right? I think he shouldn't have took his losses like a man. If that's what a man's supposed to do, just ignore things that are wrong. No, I don't go that far. You're a judge who couldn't speak English, that wouldn't let him fight against Anthony Joshua and against Dillian White. A headbutt getting counted for 2 points. Getting headbutted and they counted it for a knockdown, things like that in that fight. I would have just pushed for a rematch immediately. Getting with the sanctioning bodies and everybody else. I think that was just unfair, right? So sometimes you're just not supposed to just take a loss if you feel that you've been done unfair. And that's Joseph Parker, and that's even Deontay Wilder. For some reason, we say Deontay Wilder's name, people just freak out and act like he has no reason to be complaining. We're talking about, in his case, somebody who could have probably tampered with the gloves or things like that, and someone who has done that before, right? On many occasions. So therefore, people should at least look into it. Same thing with Joseph Parker here. Things that are just unfair, you should look into it. So as far as I'm concerned, Joseph Parker still hasn't lost fair and square. And I think it's the dude is pretty an awesome boxer. But when you're dealing with Junior Fa, this is a fight that's going, it's going to be something, because if Junior Fa ain't coming here to play, he's undefeated, and I know he's motivated to fight Joseph Parker to be the baddest dude in New Zealand. So let's see what happens. Now, according to reports, there's been a little discrepancy because of the judges. For some reason, the judges are, Fa's team is saying that the judges will be probably favoring Joseph Parker because of, Kevin Berry, they're supposed to be Joseph Parker's trainer. They're supposed to be affiliated with him or know him a little bit better than the other ones, and they think that's a little unfair. I don't know the area there, but one of them is from Christchurch. I think Kevin Berry is, and so are the judges. And what's happening is Kevin Berry is like, man, I ain't been there for years. What are you guys talking about? So I don't know what's going to happen on that, because it could be, people want to make sure the judges are going to be fair, and it's not, So Junior Fa and his team have a right to, have issues and, have complaints before. So nothing else is, you can say anything. So this is the time to complain about judges before the damn fight. So let's see what happens with those judges, right? Another thing that was interesting, Joseph Parker, right? He was saying he has Tyson Fury beating Anthony Joshua if they are to face each other. A lot of people think they're going to face each other here soon. I have my doubts about that. But if they do face each other, it's a big fight for some people. Two heavyweights for undisputed championship, which I doubt that will be. But if so, it's an undisputed heavyweight match, which is big. And Joseph Parker says he's got Tyson Fury winning, and he says he's biased. Right? He says he's biased because he's closer to Tyson Fury than he is to Anthony Joshua, even though him and Anthony Joshua do ride each other from time to time. But he says he's real good with Tyson Fury. And even though Joseph Parker's good with Tyson Fury, because I think Tyson Fury is a scumbag, right? He's doped on several occasions in different substances, and he's cheated in his gloves on several occasions. Christian Hammer, which people just refuse to look at, and with Joe McDermott, right, or John McDermott, he cheated there. These are, this happened with John McDermott. He cheated with Christian Hammer. He cheated, and his sparring partners, Asbury and others, have said he's cheated in sparring as well. So I mean, at what point, if your daughter gets raped by a rapist, a known rapist that the cops didn't do nothing about, who are you gonna be talking to? You gonna say your daughter is delusional, or you gonna say, cops, why didn't you let everyone know that they're raped? What would you do then? Does it have to happen to you first? So that's the thing. So I just think that that Tyson Fury is a little scumbag. There's a lot of scumbags out there, but Tyson Fury is an open scumbag, has been caught on several occasions, and Joseph Parker is his boy. Now, I roll with Joe, even though I know he's down with the scumbag. Doesn't matter, right? Because Joseph Parker hasn't done anything that I think is wrong up until now, right? Now, Billy Joe Saunders rose with Tyson Fury, but that's a scumbag. Billy Joe Saunders has done tons of things that are just wrong that anybody wouldn't like, right? And so, that's the thing. So Joseph Parker, he's cool with Tyson Fury, and it don't matter, man. Because a lot of times I'm cool with a few people that I know ain't doing right stuff. I'm cool with them, but I don't hang around them when I find out that they don't do, that they doing stuff wrong. Period. That's how it is. And when it comes to things like that, people, Dome is justice orientated. Most of the time when I do these videos, I tell you people about things, other athletes, so people will know why I roll with most athletes. It's probably because injustices are being done to them, like Deontay Wilder, for example. But let me tell you, when I'm talking about Lennox Lewis, the things that went down with Lennox Lewis, didn't like it. He's the best fighter out there, and people talking about Mike Tyson before him, or Riddick Bowe, and Riddick Bowe didn't fight him. If you go to basketball, everybody talking about Michael Jordan, Patrick Ewing, and all them other centers out there that played. Hakeem Olajuwon was the best center, and Hakeem Olajuwon is the guy that I would pick first in the team, right? And you go to tennis, people talk about everybody for the women's side. My favorite tennis player is Monica Seles, a tennis player that played from the late 80s until the early 2000s, right? And she came in the era of Steffi Graf, who was the Mike Tyson of tennis at the time. She came in as a young girl and started beating Steffi Graf. You know what happened to her? I say it again. Someone stabbed her in Germany, in Steffi Graf's country, and the guy told them why he stabbed her. He said, because I want Steffi Graf to be number one in the world again, because Monica Seles was number one, and by far, and she was the only one that was beating Steffi Graf. And that changed tennis. Now, here's the injustice. They asked the top 10 tennis players at the time, and I'll never forget it. They asked the top 10 tennis players at the time, women tennis players, should we freeze the points of Monica Seles, right? Because it's not an injury what happened to her. She was stabbed on the court at Hamburg Rodenbau in Germany. And the 9 of them said no, right? The only one that didn't say anything was Gabriela Sabatini. Now, that's unjust. And that's how I roll with Seles till today. I don't care. That's my favorite tennis player to today, right? And that was unjust. So when something's unjust, I don't give a damn who, where, how, and what they look like, right? It's just unjust. In sports, there's a lot of that going on. So that's kind of how I roll. That's why I mentioned things like Monica Seles, Hakeem Olajuwon, Deontay Wilder, Lennox Lewis. These things are just unjust. In Deontay Wilder's case, people aren't asking for anything more than, hey, could you investigate this from someone who's done this before, several occasions? Is that, what we won't even investigate it? Start like raping your daughter. You would want them to investigate it, now wouldn't you? So back to Joseph Parker versus Junior Fall, February 27th. Tune in. I'll probably doing a couple of videos coming up for that, but I do think it's an issue with those judges. I think they're going to sort that out. I don't see no problem with that. And another thing Joseph Parker just says, he thinks Tyson Fury beats Anthony Joshua. I kind of do too. If it goes to points, it will be that. But I think that Anthony Joshua in that fight, he would have to come forward. I'm talking about something awesome, like he's never been knocked out before. He'd have to go back to that Anthony Joshua. That Anthony Joshua can get to Tyson Fury. But if it's the tentative Anthony Joshua, the one that we've been seeing of late, although he did look good against Kubrat Pulev, let's give him that, then I think that Tyson Fury does have the edge here. But if Anthony Joshua just says, I don't care about if he knocks me out or not, but I'm going to go after him, then we got a different fight. Let's see what happens going forward. I'll be back with some more Joseph Parker before the weekend comes. Dome Sports Talk, worldwide. And I'm up out of here.